Hey, it's Craig. I'm out in the garage, and today I've got a project that I bought off eBay. Some bits and pieces to go with it, including cartridges to test it with. Probably gives it away a little bit for what it is, but let's give it a go and see how we get on. Okay, so a bit of a background. I've been looking at N64 consoles on eBay for a while now. You can buy them working for about £45, which isn't too bad a price for a console of this age. The biggest issue is I was looking for one to repair so I could do a video and do other bits and pieces with it and hopefully get it for a cheaper price. But all the ones up for repaired and faulty and the search terms I normally look for, they were going for about £40 too, which was absolutely crazy. I'm not paying that for it. So the technique I used in the end was to find one that was newly listed, that had offers on it as well. And as soon as I found one that had offers on it, I put an offer into it as well straight away. So I think I got this, including postage and the power supply and the cable, for £20 all in. But I just looked back at my listing, the listing for it as well. So for parts I'm not working, fine. Nintendo 64 console, great condition, is for parts or not working. Dispatch with eBay. Does not come with any controllers. All components included do not work. May or may not be repairable. So I'm going to give that power supply a go first of all, connect it all up and see what it looks like. But it's saying that all components are not working, so I'm wondering whether this has gone, the power supply's gone, and the AV cable's gone as well. There's only one way to find out, and that's to test it bit by bit. So the first bit for me is to plug it all in together and see if it works. If that doesn't work, then I'll test the power supply first of all, and then with a working power supply I can test the unit, and with a working unit and power supply I can test the AV cable and see if we get any outputs from it. So it's going to be a bit of a trickle feed of getting the content together, but hopefully things will come together over the next couple of days and I can get a video edit together and showing, hopefully getting this working at the end of the video. Cool, catch you in a bit. Okay, so first inspection, we've got a Nintendo 64 console and it's got the jump pack in there as well, which is great. Power supply and a video cable that connects it to your TV as well, RCA. This cable is a little bit of a mess, so it's got it looks like it's been pulled from the back of the console a couple of times, and then a couple of places down this cable it looks like it's been burnt or melted in some way. So I don't know what that is, whether that's on the surface or no, that looks like it's into the cable. So I don't know whether that's been stored badly and something's rotted away at it, or whether it's been burnt. But further down we've got a couple of exposed cable elements. They're not broken, so they could still work, but they're exposed from the black surround. And then further down again, I think we've got another one around here. Bit of exposed cable in there. Power supply, again, currently looks in cosmetically good condition. Plugs intact and no cables are frayed on this plug. It looks in pretty decent condition, so we'll test that as well. Yeah, let's give it a go, see what we can do. Okay, so insert the power block into the back, clicks in. I'm going to plug this in, see if we get anything from the console. Okay, so we're not getting any LEDs or anything at the front of this, so I'm going to test this power supply, see what's up with that, and see how we can get some power into this. It's either, I'm guessing it's the power supply at the back, because these things can go occasionally. It could be the fuse and the plug. The console itself they're pretty robust. They don't normally go, so they normally have issues with the video and the sound, but I've never known one to actually fail totally. So we'll have a look at it. I've never actually owned an N64. I've played on them quite a few times, but I've never actually bought one for myself. So yeah, this will be interesting. If I can get this up and running, it'd be good to get some games and have a play on it. Cool, let's keep on having a look and see what we can do. Okay, so the first thing we're going to check is the fuse and the plug. So to do that, we're going to pop the fuse out. I'm going to use the pointing part of my multimeter. Oh, that's a tight one. There we go. So we've got a fuse and we've got our multimeter. So all we're going to do on this fuse is to test that it's working. We've got it set to continuity, so when the 2 points connect, they should go down to 0 to show that the flow is going straight through from one terminal to another. So if this fuse is any good, as soon as we touch the two ends, yep, that fuse is fine. So we're getting to a 0, so the circuit isn't broken in between this fuse. The fuse is still doing its job. It's connecting one to the other. If too much voltage or too much goes through this fuse, that'll burn out, and then you wouldn't get a continuity between the 2 points. So we know the fuse is good, so we can pop that back in. So we know the fuse is good, so that should mean that power is going from here down to the transformer at the back of the games console. The next thing to do is pop this out, and we're going to test these pins on here. Okay, so the ends of my multimeter are too small. Even if I put them in there, they're not going to go all the way to the back to make the connections. So what we're going to do with it unplugged, I've picked up from my tool set or from my hardware set a couple of really fine nails. So I'm going to pop this diagram on here so we know where the earths are. So the earths are top left, bottom left, and middle bottom. So I'm going to go bottom left for now. Just going to pop that nail into there. The other one I'm going to nail into top row middle, because that one will give me 3.3 volts. So don't touch these two together now, because once it's plugged in it's going to give you a shock. Not much, only 3.3 volts, but nobody wants a shock anyway. Okay, so we've got these two pins inserted, we've got it plugged into the wall. We're now going to test the negative connection to there and the positive to here. I'm not sure where you can see the multimeter screen, but I'm getting 0 out of that. So there's nothing coming out of this power supply at all. Let me unplug it a second, just in case we've got a bad earth or a bad connection. I'm going to put that one into top left, and then I'm going to put this one into bottom right to give me 12 volts. Again, wouldn't be a huge shock if I got it, but I don't want 12 volts shocking me tonight. I'd rather not have that. So I'm going to put this one into there and I'll plug it back in. I'm going to test these two again. So bottom left, bottom right, top. No, I'm not getting anything from that really. Okay, so this power supply seems to be dead. What I'm going to do is one more thing to test, is to unplug again. I'm going to put this one into middle here, and I'm going to check the continuity between these two, because if they're both ground, then we should be able to get continuity between the two to show that my pin trick is working. So top left, top right, and yeah, you probably can't see that on screen properly. Let me move out the way. Yeah, so I'm getting continuity between the two. So the earth traces are working, so I can get continuity between the negative terminal on this. So my pin trick is working, but the power supply seems to be dead. Next thing to do is probably pop this open and see what we've got inside, see what we can test. Let's give that a go. Two. Right. That now pops forward. come off. Okay, so that's the lower casing off. You're not going to touch anything because there may be capacitors in here which are holding a bit of a charge. But we're going to have a look at pulling this out and over. So let's have a look at that. So there's your casing. If you ever need that for the future, you've got it spare. So let's have a look. Yeah, this is pretty complex, isn't it? So there's a lot going on in here. So this is your main 240 in. We could test that. A lot of it's heat shielded behind this, and then this looks really loose to me. Okay, so I'm just quickly going to test the continuity between points on either side of this ribbon cable just to see if they work. So if I get that to there and there, yeah, we're getting continuity in that one. And that one's fine. Okay, so the continuity between all of these points. I'm just going to need to find out why this is loose. If that's going to cause me a problem. If there's something else that's meant to be connected. Maybe that the ground's bad or something else is bad. But okay, let me have a look into this and see what we can do. It'll probably be another night now because I've got a couple of other bits and pieces to do tonight. But let's pick up on this over the next couple of days. Cool. Okay, so this is meant to be wobbly by the look of it, which is fine. I can see I've had a look at the pin out of these online, and these go connect here to here, so a lot of these should give me continuity between the two as well. What I have found online since starting this is that these things, when they fail, they fail. So once they've gone, you could fix it, but there's a lot of things on this little sister board here which are going to cause you a lot of trouble to fix, and a lot of money to fix. So you can buy a new power supply for about £10. So what I think I'm going to do is buy a new power supply, but in the meantime I'm going to still play around with this one, see if I can get anything out of it. But I think once the power supply is gone, it's not worth repairing, to be honest. So yeah, bit of a shame. I wanted to fix the power supply and get that running, but doesn't look like we're going to get that as an option. I'll leave the camera rolling while I'm doing some digging around, but I'm not expecting anything to come of this. So next update will be in a few days time. Once I bought a new power supply, we can test that, see if the console's any good, and then we'll go from there. Cool. Catch you in a bit. Yeah, so this power supply is had it. There's probably something in the main input side of things, but yes, you can see all of these little components to test and play around with. I've pretty much checked what I can check without taking it apart individual bit by bit and checking each component, which will need some special tools as well. But look at that backboard there. The detail on that and the amount of individual parts that need testing. There's many things that could be going wrong with this. So what I'm going to do is buy a new one of these, a replacement off of eBay or Amazon, probably Amazon just to get it quicker. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. I'm a bit gutted because I wanted to repair this, but the main thing is if this console works, that's your main money coming into it. I'm not sure whether I got much hope for that AV cable, but we'll give that a go as well. So yeah, let's see. Sadly, this power supply is going to go into the bin or the spares box. Bit of a shame, but it is a bit of an old technology now. It's probably, I don't know how old the N64 is. Is there a date on this? Made in Japan, 1996, 1997. So you're looking at 20 odd, 22, 23 years old now. So it's an old bit of kit. This technology is never going to last forever. Capacitors go, and other bits and pieces wear out on them over time. So especially where they've been put into storage for a while, they're not going to power back up as they should. Yeah, so we're going to leave this. We're going to jump into a new video in a couple of days time once I've got a new power supply. I'm going to see if this is going to work for us. Cool.